Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
Let's hang out.
Let's hang out.
And let's talk about what lessons about.
Let's hang out.
And let's listen to 2 lesbians shout.
Let's hang out.
Let's hang out.
Hi.
Hi, you guys.
Welcome to Les Hangout, a podcast where you get to hang out with 2 lesbians. This is your East Coast lesbian, Ellie Brigida.
And I'm your West Coast lesbian, Lee Holmes Foster.
And this is episode 5, When Sally Met Sally.
And this episode, we're going to be talking about, I think, an age-old question, right? Which is, can women who love other women be friends?
I don't know. We will see.
With women.
I just want to take a minute to talk about the title of this episode. For those of you who haven't seen the movie, there is an iconic movie, When Harry Met Sally, with Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan, where the main character, Harry, says that men and women can't be friends, and they spend the entire movie trying to prove they can be friends. And then, of course, they fall in love, and they're together forever. So we all know what the answer to that one is.
Yeah, and a little more specifically, I think the title of the episode came, like so many things do, from like some stupid conversation that you and I were having, where we decided we wanted to queer up When Harry Met Sally, and somehow we came up with When Sally Met Sally.
Yeah, I don't know why we didn't do When Harriet Met Sally.
Right. Or anything where they didn't have the same name. I don't know why that seemed more logical to us.
Yeah, but actually recently I just met 2 Rebeccas that both live in the same house. Okay, so it's highly possible that a Sally could date a Sally. I'm just saying.
I mean, of course it's possible. I don't know why that was the go-to for us. It's like, oh, obviously twins.
I don't think anyone's even named Sally anymore.
I'm sure there's Sallys out there. No, you know what? There's who's Sally who runs Fangirl Shirts? Isn't one of them a Sally?
They could be.
Shout out to Fangirl Shirts. So
Shout out to all the Sallys in the world.
Shout out to Sallys. We love you, Sallys. So in today's episode, we are going to try to answer that age-old question for lesbians, and we'll dive in on the different types of lesbian friends, different types of lesbian relationships that lesbians have with women, all types of women in their lives, and how we navigate those relationships as queer women. And be sure to stick around for the Q&A questions at the end, because we will want to know what you think as well.
Well, what do you think, Lee? Can lesbians be friends?
Oh, this is awkward. Did you think we were friends?
We're
No,
not
of course I think we
friends.
can be friends. I don't think it's, to you, it's not a secret. Like, absolutely, I think lesbians can be friends.
Yes. I just think it depends on the situation, because boundaries tend to be crossed sometimes. And if you're physically attracted to another person who is a lesbian, who is your friend, sometimes things get weird, you know? But most of the time, I think we're cool.
You can keep your hands to yourself. That's what you're saying. I mean, we're literally 3,000 miles apart right now, so, like, I think you can handle it.
I think that's why we can be friends. No. Oh. Well, okay, I think that brings us to a good first starting point, which is les bros.
Les bros. You're my les bro.
Yeah, you're my les bro too.
You're my GBF.
Oh, I love it. I have a lot of les bros, and I love them, because sometimes you just need a friend who you're not into, who you can talk to about the girls that you're into, right?
Right, and who gets it from, like, a queer perspective. Like, that's, like, a very specific thing to add, right? To, like, add to that conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Not like we don't have straight people who are friends or like who you can have those conversations with, but it is different. I think there's a difference.
Yeah, I don't think they get it as much. And also, I love going to queer events. We know this. I need a lesbian crew. Sometimes I do go to those events alone because I'm a baller.
Yes. Get on your snapback.
Oh,
Get out the door.
God. Too many snapbacks. But a lot of the times it's nice to have a crew to go with, right?
Right. And as we've discussed in other episodes, I mean, we talked about it with Valerie, and we talked about it, I think, in another episode, too. Like, you don't generally just find, like, one lesbian,
Exactly.
right? It's usually we move in packs.
And if you made out with everyone in your pack,
Right.
that's just not right, you know?
That's awkward.
Yeah. But how do you maintain that line, right? Like, where,
Between lesbros.
yeah, like, where are the boundaries?
It's about, you know, making that obvious. I mean, making sure that's clear, you know. I mean, I think there's a big difference, I'll say for you and I, between like being married versus like being single, right? Like I imagine that makes a huge difference in terms of like how you maintain those relationships.
Oh, yeah. When you're single, it's like, are we on a lesbro date or are we on a date? Question mark.
Are you gonna can we tell the story? I want to hear. I've heard the story, but I think everyone else needs to hear this story.
I try to have so many lesbros. There's this girl in Boston. Her name is Sarah. Shout out to Sarah. And I wanted her to be my lesbro. And so we would text and we would try to schedule times to go out and meet girls together, right?
Like wing woman style, hanging out, lesbroing it up.
Yeah, we were just broing out. So one night we decided we were going to go out and a few other people were supposed to come with us. And of course, they all bailed, but I still wanted to go out. So then it ended up just being the two of us. And you're sitting there thinking, all right, well, we can go out and we'll go out to a gay bar and we'll talk to other girls. We went to drag bingo at Club Cafe, which is all gay men.
For any of you who are not familiar with the Boston gay male scene, it is Club Cafe.
Yeah. So we went out, and while we were out, this is probably one of the most awkward things that's ever happened to me. I got a text message from a girl named Sarah, and it was the girl next to me who had texted me, and it said, I think I'm on a date with Ellie right now. I thought we were lesbros, but I don't know. And
Accidental texting.
yeah.
Oh, it's like a movie.
Yeah. It was pretty bad.
I have to cut in real fast because I just want all of our listeners to know that as a true lesbro who heard this story for the first time, that my immediate reaction was to say, is she crazy and did she actually accidentally text you, or was it like fake? Like, oh no, I texted the wrong person.
Oh, I accidentally texted you to see if this was a date. No.
So that is the true caring response of a lesbro in that situation was this a mistake caused by alcohol, or did you accidentally end up with crazy on your hands? And we think the answer was not, she's not crazy.
She's not crazy.
But I did have to ask. You have to double check,
You
right?
really do, unfortunately.
Because I care about you, Ellie, that's
Oh,
why.
thanks, bro. She's definitely not crazy, but I'm super awkward. So,
Well, and then you're playing that game of like, was I sending signals that I didn't know I was sending? And,
exactly.
you know.
I was overthinking it. I was like, is this a date? Do I want this to be a date? I'm very confused. Yeah. And so I didn't say anything to her. I just looked at my phone and just went back like everything was normal. And when she realized that the text sent to me and not her friend, she was like, why didn't you tell me that I texted you? Why are you being weird?
Because that was while you were still out that night.
Yeah, while we were still out. Same night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a strange night.
Yeah. See, and that is a situation that I never find myself in. I mean, I feel like for me, it's never a question. You know, if I hang out with someone, I sincerely doubt there's ever the question of, are we on a date or not? But again, because I'm married, right? And I think that also then brings a whole new set of things about being friends with lesbians who are in a relationship, right?
Yes. And I'm friends with a lot of lesbian couples. And I actually really love being friends with lesbian couples because the lines are so much more defined.
Yeah.
In a good way.
And also we're just charming. I mean,
yeah. You get to see all the love and the cuteness, and I gush. But yeah, I think it's really nice to be friends with lesbian couples. And I think also there's this stereotype that lesbian couples like get together and then they hide for the rest of their lives, just the two of them with a blanket and a cat.
Ours is a blanket and a dog, but I get your point. It's fine.
But I don't think that lesbian couples really want that. Like, everyone wants new friends. They don't just pair up and then never talk to another human being again.
We do talk to other people.
Yeah.
I will say that.
And the dog. But
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we talk for the dog. That's fine.
mostly the dog.
It's totally normal.
But yeah, I mean, I think if you are friends with lesbians who are in a monogamous relationship, because sometimes people are in open relationships or poly relationships, and that's a little bit different.
Yes.
But I know I personally try to actively be friends with both of them in a similar amount. I mean, I don't think you need to do that, but I just find myself not trying to make one of them feel like I like them more than the other or that kind of thing.
I think you like me better.
Don't tell Kelsey. Are you listening, Kelsey?
I won't tell her. It can be our secret.
And everyone else who's listening to this podcast. So 3 people. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, we have hit our 1,000 downloads already.
Yeah,
it's very
it is
exciting. We are
exciting.
super excited that you guys are checking the podcast out and enjoying it, and we have loved hearing from you. This is just a complete aside, but we're very happy. So thanks. Keep listening.
Please. But I think that also brings us to lesbians who are not in a monogamous relationship, who are in open relationships. And sometimes the lines are blurred there too, right? And I know couples who have invited a friend in for a threesome or something of that nature, or who date other people. So not all lesbians in relationships are in this box where you can't touch.
Well, and I feel like I've seen that too. Like, I mean, you know, in that through the lesbian grapevine way of like, I'm not on dating apps, but I feel like that's a thing that I've seen people complaining about, where they're like, why are lesbian dating apps like all couples looking for a threesome?
Yes, there are a lot.
Which apparently is a thing. Who knew? You know, I'm missing out on so much. God.
Well, Tinder is a lot of couples looking for a threesome. At least, like, if you're on Her, it's just women looking for another, because I could be about that.
Which I feel like is one of the things about dating right now, where it's like, don't get me wrong, like, I think open relationships and poly relationships, like, I think it's great that people are comfortable and that there's like space right now for people to have those relationships more openly and more honestly than I think was the case in even like the not that distant past. But also, if you are like me, you know, where you're just like a monogamous homebody, I can't imagine trying to date these days. It just seems impossible.
Yeah, it's a little tricky, but it's quite fun. So
unless you like accidentally end up on a date with a lesbo that you weren't expecting. I mean, you know, sometimes.
Yeah, it makes for some great stories. So I'm not trying to couple off too soon.
Okay, so anyways, so yes, I mean, obviously there's a whole different set of rules. There's a whole new manual if you are dealing with a couple that is actively seeking an active participant in their relationship or just in their bedroom, you know, whatever that may be. I think that's, I have no advice for you there, but Godspeed to you all.
I think we should also talk about that third party that sometimes, I don't know if you've experienced this, if people will come up to you and be like, oh, you and your wife are so hot. Can I have a threesome with you?
You know, no one has ever said that to us, which now I'm taking as an insult. Are we not hot enough? What's up with that? My wife is a very good-looking woman, and
your wife is a babe.
I married up, you guys. It's okay to admit that. No, but I know exactly what you're talking about, right? Like, I think it's getting into that whole stereotype of, like, I don't know if there's a specific word for it. I want to call it, like, the lesbian predator, like, the sexual predator of lesbian, like, which is a stereotype that I think we all know. I think it's the classic, like, the Shane from the L Word, or the, what's her name?
Below her mouth.
Yeah. That person, and I think specifically it bothers me when it's a lesbian. I don't know why it like grates on my nerves more, but that person where just like everything is sex. Everything is sexual. They just want to create sexual tension with every woman that they talk to, you know? You're not, yeah, you should see, I wish you could all see Ellie's face right now.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, but that's a legit thing. We've all met them. I don't know what's happening because I don't want to have sex with you, and I feel like you're making it sound like everything I say means I do, and I really don't. You know, everything they do is smoldering, and they're looking at you.
Yeah. Sometimes I fall for the smolder, though. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to, like, name names. What I would like to say is, don't be that lesbian. Just don't do that. If you find, like, you can't have friendships, like, honest, real friendships with other lesbians, you might be that person. People take it a little far.
Sometimes people are just friends. But yeah, I think this brings us to a little bit of sort of why that comes about, because there is sexual tension between a lot of lesbian friends. That is real. And so we bring us to the lesbian friends with benefits. When you're friends with a lesbian or a bisexual woman or a queer woman who you're attracted to and they're attracted to you and you're not going to date. However, those lines are real blurred when physical things come into play, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think, because the other thing is, I mean, we did a whole episode on, like, you know, falling for straight girls and being into straight girls. And I feel like it's like the complete opposite situation where it's like being like a kid in a candy store, you know, where it's like you're into someone and they're into you and you're both into women. What?
Yeah, it gets...
That's a very different situation.
Mm-hmm. I was talking to a friend the other day, and she was talking about how she dated one of her friends for a month or two because, as we all do, and she was like, yeah, you know, I liked her as a person. She liked me as a person. We were both lesbians, and we just looked at each other and we were like, does this make sense? Should we do this? and I mean, she basically was like, yeah, but there wasn't a lot of sexual chemistry and that kind of stuff. And that happens too.
Yeah.
And, or maybe you're meant to be friends and yeah, there's some attraction there, but you're not going to date. And you're just not compatible in that way. But it gets really confusing. I go out to a lot of lesbian events, and if you see two girls together, I can never tell if girls who are dancing all over each other, holding hands, kissing each other, I don't know if they're together or if they're just best friends who sometimes hook up and really like each other. I have no clue. I really don't.
Yeah. It is different, and I think especially, like, it is something that I think is more common, but I think it does get messier in, like, queer communities and, like, queer friendships. Like, the whole friends with benefits thing, you know? Because I think it is hard, like, not to, you know, play into this whole, like, stereotype about women, but, like, come on, we have feelings besides just that. How do you navigate that if you're trying to, like, meet someone, hit on someone at a bar, and you're like, yeah, like, if you don't know what the status is, what is the situation there, you know?
Oh, yeah. How do you approach it?
Right.
I was at a bar, and a friend that I was with, this is just classic lesbian, a friend that I was with made out with a girl at the bar. Another girl who was at the bar with them was her roommate and also was hooking up with her.
Oh, God.
And got very angry at this girl who made out with my friend. And they both left crying. So, yeah.
Awesome. I'm just going to say that is, like, lesbians right there.
That's so lesbian, right?
That's so, oh my God. Can that be a new show too?
That's so lesbian.
Yeah. I mean, That's So Raven, right? She came out. We're not going to say stereotypes don't exist for reasons sometimes. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah. But I think when we're talking about friends with benefits, especially because you are friends, I think the most important thing to do to maintain that friendship, if you want to keep that friendship and not have it be so messy, is just make sure your boundaries are clearly lined up. Yes, it gets messy, but also as women, for the most part, we are good at communicating. Mm-hmm. At least I feel like I am with my friends. I think it's just important to just talk it out. Make it clear, what are your intentions? What are their intentions? And then you move forward from there.
I think that's also true of a lot of these situations that we've talked about so far, I think, is not just being clear about them, but also being honest with yourself about what they are. Because I think that comes across to other people, you know? And I think if you know what your intentions are, that will come across as well, you know? I mean, I don't think I have to do much to just have it be very clear that, like, I'm not interested in anybody who is not my wife. I mean, I think that is pretty straightforward because I'm not interested in anybody who's not my wife. It's not even a question, you know, it doesn't even enter the equation to say, like, how do I need to act appropriately in this situation? Like, it,
Yeah, well, your boundaries as a married woman are already set
yeah,
in a way because people, especially people who know you are in a monogamous relationship and that this is what that means. But you can't always assume when you're single for
Right.
sure, which is why I over communicate maybe, but I will always tell someone, here's what I'm interested in.
yeah.
And that's it. If you like it, cool. If you don't, like, we'll make something else work.
Do you need like a little card that's just like, here are my intentions?
Oh, intentions cards. I like those.
We'll print you up some. Okay, we'll get you like a little Let's Hang Out logo. Hi, I'm Ellie. Here are my intentions.
Oh, I love that.
Would you like to be friends? Have sex?
Check.
Make out a little bit?
Little more?
We can have like a sliding scale. No, it's fine. Okay, we're getting a little too detailed here.
You're right.
It's not important,
All
but
right.
it's something we should look into.
So I do think this brings us into, if we're talking about intentions, lesbian friends that turns into a relationship.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of our relationships start that way, right? You start out as, I mean, I think most relationships, you start out as friends. Maybe less so these days. A lot of people meet online or meet through apps and stuff, but I think it's not an uncommon thing, right?
It's pretty, yes, it is pretty common. I like to say that friendship is lesbian foreplay
Oh, God.
because I don't think a truer statement has ever been said.
How do you describe this podcast, Ellie? What are you and I doing? Oh, God.
What? Very long and extensively edited lesbian foreplay.
Oh, no.
Oh, God. That's a lot of work.
Okay, don't Google that, kids. Don't try this at home.
Don't Google
Okay.
that.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. And as we head into Thanksgiving time, I want to start by thanking my wife, Kelsey, who has not only listened to just about every episode of this podcast for 8 seasons now, but who also is the only reason I'm able to make time to record it every week. She takes the kids, gets them dinner, and gets them ready for bed just so that Ellie and I can come on and yell about gay things into each other's faces for an hour. So here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people you're grateful for in your life, including yourself. I've been in therapy for a long time now, and one thing that's so important about therapy is how it teaches you to be more intentional. And being intentional about gratitude and how to show that to the people you appreciate is just one of the many benefits that I've gotten from therapy over the years. If you've been thinking of starting therapy, consider giving BetterHelp a try. I know how hard it can be to find time for regular therapy, and BetterHelp is designed to be flexible and convenient for your schedule. You can fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. If you want to start being more intentional about gratitude in your life, visit betterhelp.com/letshangout today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/letshangout.
Let's hang out.
For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, and when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
At Radiolab, we love nothing more than nerding out about science, neuroscience, chemistry.
But we do also like to get into other kinds of stories. Stories about policing or
Politics,
country music,
hockey,
sex, of bugs.
Regardless of whether we're looking at science or not science, we bring a rigorous curiosity to get you the answers.
And hopefully make you see the world anew.
Radiolab, adventures on the edge of what we think we know.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all, I'm JJ.
Hey, guys, it's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests to share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to like speak of them or talk about them or in any way like portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. Like, it would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.
But yeah, in episode 3, we talked about falling in love with your straight best friend. But what happens when you fall in love with your queer best friend?
Yeah.
Because the chances are higher they will also fall in love with you.
If they're gay, yes. Right?
Yeah.
Like, your odds certainly go up than if they're straight.
Well, were you and Kelsey friends before you started dating?
We were, yes. I mean, also, to be fair, you know, Kelsey had not come out yet when we were friends. So, I mean, those processes happened somewhat simultaneously. When Kelsey and I met, I was in a relationship with my ex. We'll get to that. But, you know, it was someone that I could talk to about that because she didn't know my relationship and know my ex-girlfriend really. And so she kind of became like that person that I could go to talk to about how that was sort of like falling apart. So we definitely started out as friends, but, you know, it wasn't exactly falling for your queer best friend because... Yes. That was not the expectation that I think either of us had at that time.
And well, my most recent relationship was with someone I had been friends with for 4 years.
Yeah.
Before we started dating.
Yeah, we were not friends for 4 years.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a slow burn, man.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, she was dating men for that entire time.
Yeah.
So, similar, I guess. Especially once you find out that one of your friends has a crush on you, and you take a second and you stop to think about it, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, you know you like them already.
Right.
Right?
And you're friends.
In a way, it's almost better because when I'm dating, I just do stupid things. or you know, you're not as much yourself, I think, if you go into a situation being like, this is a date. You put on this...
Right, there's that facade. There's like the date you know?
Exactly.
The better version that you want to present.
Yeah, so your friend knows the not as great version of you.
Yeah.
But that's also nice, because then you know that they really like you.
Right. Well, and it's also, I mean, just in a general sense, I think it's something that I love about lesbian relationships and about being a lesbian in a general sense is I feel like to me, like, there's a different level of friendship in our relationships in a general sense, you know, like, I mean, not like I don't know straight couples who I think are best friends with each other, absolutely, but I also know plenty of straight couples who, like, have so many different interests and they're hanging out with different people all the time, and it's, you know, it's always like, oh, great, you know, my husband's gonna be out of the house tonight, I can watch this show that I like and talk to my girlfriends, and first of all, stop using the word girlfriend, straight people, it's confusing, you know, but it's like, but you have those conversations sometimes, and I'm like, why wouldn't you want to do all that stuff with your husband? Like, that's why you married them, right? Is so you can do everything all the time together because they're your best friend.
And because we're lesbians.
Because we're lesbians. And apparently
and we
that
have
is
no
not,
boundaries.
Yes. Like, I'm not going to say it is not a thing in straight relationships, but I think it's a much more ubiquitous thing in lesbian relationships. I think you see that a lot, that you are literally each other's best friends, in addition to being in a relationship with each other, which is, to me, it's the best. It's like the best thing.
It is. It's beautiful. I mean, people always say you should spend your life with your best friend, right? And so it's just nice when your best friend happens to be someone that you also are attracted to.
And is a babe. I mean, who said that?
Yeah,
What?
right? I think it makes a lot of sense. It's also convenient. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing sometimes.
Yeah.
For some people, you spend so much time with this person that you end up not spending time with other potential
yes.
prospects.
Yeah.
Because they're your friend, and therefore you become very involved with them.
Right.
That's your central relationship in your life.
I think the very stereotypical danger there, too, also is of just becoming friends, right? Like, just being friends. And that's the whole, like, lesbian bed death and, like, you'll just be friends. And I mean, which I like to say is, like, not really as big of a problem as I think, like, modern media has made it out to be. But I think is a real thing to talk about as well, right? Is, like, if you have that close of a friendship and that sense of comfort and familiarity, you know, how do you also make sure that that doesn't just become what your relationship is, right?
Yeah, there's this thing like your best friend is like an old sweatshirt or something.
Right.
And like an old sweatshirt isn't really sexy, right?
The way you avoid that, marry a babe. Who's what? Sorry.
Yeah. Good for you, Lee. You get it.
Be like me, kids. No. No, but I think that's true. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that play into that. Yes, absolutely. I think it's a benefit. Sure, it can lead to, you know, issues in some cases, maybe. But the other thing that I think is interesting that we should talk about is sort of the flip side of that, right? So we talked about friends turning into a relationship and that really close friendship that you have with your significant other as lesbians. And then what about when that relationship sometimes ends?
And then you're best friends with your ex?
Going back to being friends, just friends, right? Let's talk about that a little bit, because this was actually something that I thought was really funny. I was just watching one of the episodes of How I Met Your Mother this week, and it's the episode where, and the whole takeaway moral of this episode is, you know, kids never ever invite an ex to your wedding. That's his rule, basically, that he's trying to tell his children, you know, years in the future. Don't ever invite an ex to your wedding. And of course, I'm watching this episode just cracking up because, like, my ex was in my wedding, right? So, I mean, I think that's, like, also a kind of common lesbian stereotype is to remain good friends with your exes after you've broken up.
Oh, for sure. I was having a bet with my friend the other day about which one of our friends would have the most exes at their wedding. And yeah, it was actually a really difficult debate because a lot of people have their exes at their wedding.
Because it's not an uncommon thing, especially for women, right? Like, we do have those close friendships, and it's hard, even when you break up, you don't necessarily want to just cut that person out of your life, you know? Like, I was with my ex-girlfriend for 3.5 years, like, through high school into college, and she's someone who was really, really important in my life and who was a wonderful friend and still is a wonderful friend, you know? And you don't just stop being important to each other because your relationship didn't work out.
Yeah, and especially with that much time. There's so much that you went through together.
Right.
Yeah, how do you cut that person out of your life when they were so much to you for so long?
Yeah.
Especially because we're lesbians, in a very deep friendship kind of way that I don't know exist as much in heterosexual couples.
Yeah, I think it's harder for straight couples, for straight people to do that, to remain close friends with
And
exes.
I do think a lot of them still are friends with their exes because it's the same, it's similar.
Yeah.
They were such a huge part of their lives. But like you said before, we do everything together. Whereas, you know, if you are in a heterosexual couple and you break up, the guy had spent all of his time with his guy friends. The girl has her girlfriends, girls that are friends.
Gal pals, okay.
Their lives were a little bit more separate, usually.
Yeah, and I think also it's looked on differently, you know? I think people treat it differently if you're trying to stay, you know, if a girl's trying to stay friends with her ex-boyfriend versus, like, you know, staying friends with your ex-girlfriend, because, you're both girls and you're friends, right? I mean, I think there's different expectations there. There's a different amount of weird judgment and stigma placed on it, you know?
Oh, yeah, there's much less in lesbian relationships. People are like, oh, I'm friends with my ex. And they're like, oh, yeah, here's mine. She's with me right now.
Yeah.
Here, meet her.
Yeah. And I do feel like there is some... Like, do you think it's true? I feel like with lesbians especially, it's like either you stay like really good friends with your ex or it's like bridge burned forever.
Yeah, there's really no middle ground, to be real. It's very dramatic.
I feel like it always lands in one of those two camps, you know?
Yeah, no, it's either dead to me or godmother of my baby. And,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's not always immediate. I mean, it's not like my ex and I broke up and like immediately became best friends. Like, you know, we had to take some time and like figure out how to like re-become like something in each other's lives and what that was going to look like when it wasn't what it had been for such a long time, you know?
Well, yeah, it's the same thing with boundaries for everything. You have to redefine that relationship. What does it mean in a way that is not hurtful to both of you?
Yeah.
And makes sense.
And I think it depends on like the people that you both are, you know? I mean, obviously, like, she's also someone who I care about a lot and who has always been like super supportive and super respectful of my relationship with my wife, obviously. I mean, you know, like was there at our wedding. And I think, you know, also like the person that you're with now, like my wife has never had a problem with that, you know, like she's always understood that relationship and has never had any weird issues or jealousy or like, no, I mean, it's just, you know, it was like a very open, I mean, I think what you were saying before, like communicating, you know, like being clear about what everything is and, you know, making sure that everyone kind of is on the same page. And then you have a beautiful lesbian wedding with your exes. I mean, it's fine.
I really wish that I was at that wedding. Like, I just met you too late, you know?
We'll do another one. We'll do one just for you, Ellie.
Oh, that would be great.
Wedding
You guys
take two.
should still have one. Like for your anniversary, you could renew your vows.
I mean,
at
we've
some
talked
point.
about it mostly because, like, we got married, I think, like, right before Pinterest, like, exploded, you know? Which, like, in some ways was great because I think it took a lot of the pressure out of planning. I feel like watching people plan weddings these days, I'm like, there's too many ideas. How do you make a decision? Like, I'm not good at making decisions. And we got to avoid a lot of that, but also then you see, like, really cool ideas and you're like, oh, damn it, I already did my wedding. We could have done this. So yeah, we should just do more. Like a new wedding every like 5 years or so. Why not?
I honestly, this is probably a whole other episode, lesbian weddings, to be real, but
yeah, oh my God, we should do that.
I would love to just have a party that celebrates my love, like with people, period. Like it's just like, here's a party and let's celebrate how much I love you guys. And this is like my wedding to my friends.
To my friends.
Yeah. That's a pretty lesbian thing to do, huh?
A friend wedding.
Yeah.
A fredding. Because is that a thing? No, that sounds terrible.
You know, it'll be fine. So,
it's fine.
As we segue back from lesbian weddings, yeah, why is it so difficult to navigate these relationships as women?
I think this is sort of like bringing together everything that we've talked about so far in this episode, because I think a lot of what it comes down to with all of the different aspects of this, the different relationships that we've covered, the different, you know, types of interactions that you have, I think it's just, there's a lot of muddier waters when you're dealing with two women. You know, society's pretty heteronormative. There's a lot of things and expectations and sort of, you know, norms that I think people know to kind of follow without really having to spell them out. And I think as soon as you take away that kind of heteronormative dichotomy, I think it gets a little blurrier, you know, because you're entering into these relationships where you are really good friends, and sometimes it's going to become something more, and sometimes it can't become something more, and sometimes it shouldn't become something more, and sometimes it does, and then you realize it shouldn't have, you know, and I think there's a lot of different things that can happen, and it's hard because it's sort of unavoidable.
Oh yeah, the lines are very, very blurred. If you think about it, if you had a guy with a girlfriend and he slept over a friend's house that was a girl, even if he just slept over, period, I think people would feel weird. But let's say he slept over and they cuddled on the couch or something.
Sure.
People would be up in arms.
And everyone would feel like that's a normal thing to say, like, that's not okay, right?
Yeah. But I feel like as lesbians, like, I hold hands with my friends who are in relationships with other girls.
Yeah.
I kiss my friend and her girlfriend all the time. I don't make out with them, but when we say goodbye, I kiss my friend, and then I'm like, oh, her girlfriend's here too. I don't want her to feel left out. And I'm like, oh, here's a kiss for you.
Just to be fair,
Yeah.
share
I
the
mean,
love.
also, like, they're both cute, so I would always kiss them. But yeah.
The one that came to mind for me too is like, I just remember, I feel like it was this summer that the whole thing broke about Mike Pence and how Mike Pence kind of follows the Billy Graham rule, which is like, I don't have meals with a woman who's not my wife if my wife's not there and all this stuff. Obviously, as women, that should offend you because it's a bullshit misogynistic rule. But also as a lesbian, like my very first reaction is I was like, well, how would that work for lesbians? Like what I'm not allowed to be friends with other girls? Like, that's ridiculous, right? Like, it's laughable. You're like, come on. Like, of course, I have to be able to, like, go out to dinner with a woman who's not my wife. Like, how would I have any friends, right?
Yep. A man, you can go out to dinner with a guy, too.
Right, exactly. There's something almost freeing about, like, being outside of all of those expectations, Because it's, like, not just does it open us up to say, look, like, as long as we trust each other, like, what do I, like, yeah, if my wife wants to go sleep over with a friend's house, like, that would never cross my mind to be like, well, maybe we should talk about this first. I'd be like, no, have fun. Okay, if you get cold cuddle, that's cool. Like, whatever. Like, those are your friends. Of course that's what you're gonna do, And I think what I've always thought is great, too, is, like, we have that freedom with dudes, too. Like, we've definitely had, like, friends' husbands who are like, hey, I'm in town, I'm gonna come hang out, like, can I crash at your place? And we're like, yeah, let's go get dinner, and then you can, like, come stay over, that's cool. And, like, no one thinks that's weird, because I'm like, we could not be less interested in you if we tried.
But that's the thing, too, even if you weren't a lesbian, a straight girl who's not interested in that guy, still... He could sleep over at her house.
He could, but I think it would be treated differently, right? Whether it's fair or not, I think it would be. And that's what's nice is like we don't have to deal with any of that,
Oh yeah, because people just are like, oh, well, it's fine.
Because I think it removes a lot of those kind of like built-in, society judging fingers pointing at you saying like, this isn't appropriate, men and women. I think exactly why we went with When Harry Met Sally, right? Because that's the whole thing. The whole idea is like men and women can't be friends.
Can't be alone together,
They will
ever.
always want to bang. And it's like, no, actually, like plenty of men and women do not want to have sex with each other also, just as much as I do not want to have sex with any man I'm going to be friends with,
I think it would also be interesting to see what the dynamic is in a relationship where one of the partners is bisexual. I wasn't a part of that relationship. And I even felt it for myself. I felt like, you can hang out with girls and that's fine, but if you're hanging out with a guy by yourself, like, that would stress me out.
Yeah, see, because I feel like as much as we are, like, freed from a lot of those expectations as lesbians, I feel like bisexual people have, like, double them. It's, like, double. There's, like, all of the judgment, all of the stigma, like, all the time. It must just be endless.
Yeah, and I would try really hard to be like, it's okay, let me reframe my frame of mind, but society has told us for so long, like, men and women cannot be alone together, that It was ingrained in me, too, even in a queer relationship.
Society and Mike Pence. And I'm here to tell you, Mike Pence is wrong about most things in life.
True.
I think a lot of it is crap. I think there's a lot of expectations that are placed on people. I feel like getting to exist a lot of times outside of those, that you really get to see how confining they are and how unnecessary they are. I mean, realistically, the fact that I think it's nice that we can hang out with male friends and not have it seem like it's a weird thing, like, is not any different than us hanging out with female friends. Like, we're married. We're just not interested in anyone. It doesn't matter, like, it shouldn't be weird regardless of what our particular sexual orientation happens to be. I think we're getting there, but I wish it was a little farther along than it is.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely not there yet. And I think also, thinking about women, we also form more intimate relationships with a wider variety of women, or a higher number of women as women. I just said women like 7,000 times.
Say women again.
Women. But you know what I'm saying? It's, as women, we form intimate relationships with each other.
It's like you have women on the brain.
I do, always. We have intimate friendships that are not relationships.
Right. And that's important. And I think it's important to have those.
And they're very important to us. Exactly. And to cut those people out of your life is just stupid.
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear. But yeah, of course, when they're also queer women and you're single, it can be blurred. It's always, everything's blurry. My vision's blurry. Life is blurry. That's it.
Life is blurry. Okay. Is that how we're wrapping things up? Life is
blurry.
Yeah,
I think the end is life is blurry. Friendship is lesbian foreplay. But also sometimes isn't.
And there you go. There it is, listeners. We've done it for you. We've
wrapped up in a bow.
Done it again.
All right, well, does this mean we're at our Q and Gay?
Oh my God, is it time for Q and Gay? I'm so excited.
Q and Gay.
All right. If you could be Les Bros with just one of these celesbians, which would it be? A, Kate McKinnon. B, Natasha Negovanless.
Oh my God.
C, Ellen DeGeneres. And D, Ellen Page.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Many Ellens.
This is too much. I can't. Question 1, I quit.
Lots of Ellens.
E, all of the above.
Nope.
Okay. I am gonna go with Kate McKinnon. I'm gonna say Kate McKinnon.
All right. Good call. Good call. All right. Have you ever fallen for a lesbian, bisexual, queer friend?
I'm gonna say no, because my wife wasn't queer when we met, and my ex-girlfriend and I were set up together. So we didn't really like hang out a bunch as friends first. Yeah.
Okay. So this is a similar question. Have you ever dated a girl who was previously a good friend?
Yes.
And that's your wife?
Yeah. I think we've covered my dating history is very small. That's fine.
All right. The big question, do you think women who love other women can be friends with each other?
Yeah, I still do. My answer has not changed from the beginning. I absolutely do. You're my friend, Ellie.
Oh, let's be friends.
Let's be friends.
All right, next question. Can you make out with your lesbian friends with no strings attached?
I mean, I cannot, but that's just me. And I am like, I mean, I think if I was a superhero, I would be Captain Monogamy. So, like, that's...
Captain Monogamy?
I'm very good at monogamy. I'm like that's just how I am.
It's your best
I don't
skill.
think I could, because I don't think I could handle that, but I feel like people can. Good for them. It's not for me.
Do you and your significant other have any rules for hanging out with other lesbians or other people outside of your marriage?
We do not. I mean, I think that's like a very comfortable thing about our relationship is like, I don't think we worry about it at all, you know? There's a lot of trust. There's a lot of
beautiful.
trust in our marriage. But no, we don't have any rules. I mean, I don't think it's ever even come up.
Well, that's my last question of the Q and Gay. Remember that you can give us your own answers to this episode's Q and Gay questions on our Twitter at Les Hangout Pod.
And you can also find us on Instagram and on Facebook at Les Hangout Pod.
You can email us at leshangoutpod@gmail.com.
And you can check out our website, leshangoutpod.com.
And if you like what you hear and you want to help us out and help us reach more beautiful women who love other women, you can give us a review on iTunes.
We have loved reading them. We really enjoy seeing that you guys are liking the podcast. It means so much to us.
My favorite one was Yes, Queens, Yes.
Yeah, Ellie's going to print that out and like hang it on her wall or something.
Yeah, put it on my wall.
Also, if you just want to follow us individually, the best place to find me, Lee Holmes Foster, is on Twitter at LSH Foster.
And the best place to find me is at LEB2792 on Instagram and Twitter.
And we'll be back with a new episode in 2 weeks, and we can't wait. I'm Lee.
And I'm Ellie. And let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
Listening to a podcast should be time well spent, and I promise it will be if you'll give this podcast a try. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in every episode, I talk with leading experts on topics I know you will find fascinating. From why people can't keep secrets, what your favorite music says about you, why your pet acts in strange ways, and so much more. Something You Should Know is designed to give you information you can use in your life and give you great intel that you can share with others. I'm told it's a binge-worthy podcast. And with over 1,000 episodes, there's a lot to binge on. Something You Should Know has been ranked in the top of the Apple Podcast charts consistently for a long time. I know you're going to like this. I just need to get you to try it. Something You Should Know. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts.